Here at home, critics are calling the new White House report on climate change alarmist. The report says global warming is already causing extreme weather. Republicans say President Obama will use it simply to push new regulations on the energy industry. And Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell said that could include a national energy tax.
And I'm sure he'll get loud cheers from liberal elites, from the kind of people who leave a giant carbon footprint and then lecture everybody else about low-flow toilets.
McConnell also said that more regulations wouldn't really make a difference.
So even if we were to enact the kind of national energy regulations the president seems to want so badly, it would be unlikely to meaningfully impact global emissions anyway, unless other major industrial nations do the same thing. That means getting countries like China and India on board. The president knows that. The president also knows that much of the pain of imposing such regulations would be borne by our own middle class.
Now, a recent Gallup poll actually found that climate change ranked next to last out of 15 different issues. Only 24% of the public worries about it a great deal, and 51% say they worry about it a little or not at all.
For more on the climate change report, we turn now to Weather Bell's Joe Bastardi. Joe, do you agree with Mitch McConnell that the White House report is alarmist?
The more I look at this over the years, the more I've decided that there's very little science that's actually involved anymore in it, because at the very least, there's enough overwhelming evidence that there's doubt and outright refutation of this idea that 0.04% of the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, is causing the planet to go into a death spiral, so to speak. So, no, I don't believe it.
Do you think humans are really responsible for climate change and that changing our behavior would help?
If you actually think about the makeup of the planet, the fact that its design has 3/4 of the land in the northern hemisphere, 3/4 of the ocean in the south, that it tilts on its axis, it revolves around the sun, you could see that the magnitude of everything around carbon dioxide boxes it in to such a severe limitation that any impact it has would be lost in the noise of trying to measure it.
Many on the left, Joe, as you know, have been beating this drum of climate change for a long time, but most Americans are not concerned about it. Why do you think that is?
Well, because most Americans are intuitive enough to know that that it doesn't exist in the way that some of these folks are trying to portray it. It doesn't matter to me whether there's a climate fight or not. The only reason I'm involved is I've used climatology and climate all my life to form weather forecasts as a basis. The foundation for looking forward is always understanding what happened in the past. Now, if this went away tomorrow, doesn't make any difference to me. I'm still on here with you from time to time about the weather and other aspects, of what the weather's doing. But just imagine if you sunk your entire life into this whole climate fight and then all of a sudden it's taken away from you, or your hero worship is gone. So I think that has something to do with it. It's very, very tough to admit that you're wrong about something when you've staked a position on it. As far as I'm concerned with this situation, climate and climatology is something I was taught to use as a foundation for the weather forecast. So consequently, I know what happened before, and at first it was amusing watching people trying to say that this is the worst ever. Now it's getting to a point where I see it limiting what we do as a nation, and as mankind, I think it's a very, very nasty problem. And someday we're going to look back at this and see exactly what damage has been done by folks that are trying to push their agenda down everyone's throat.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your no-nonsense approach.
Well, you enjoy the weather, though. It's the only weather you got.